So I want to give a little Rolling Stones Hackney Diamonds update. The record is out, and when I say the record is out, I mean like it's out in my living room, it's out in my office, it is out on my car stereo, and most people now have gotten their orders of it. There's a hell of a lot of variants out there, and to be honest, I find the marketing a little obnoxious, and I worry that I'm going to stop listening to this record just because I'm going to get so sick of being marketed to over it. I'm really glad I got the one that I got. This Paul Smith version, different cover. It doesn't matter to me at all that the artist's signature is on it or that it's some sort of collector's item. I don't care. I said it before. I just wanted to have a good cover, and this is the one I really liked, so I pulled the trigger on it. But with these variants, I think the thing that annoys me more than anything is that you're just getting, sometimes you get a lot of information, sometimes you get none. Case in point, the one I have behind me has no credits on it, at all. There's not a credit on the whole thing. All it is on the back of it is a list of the songs, and then it's like a little his signature on the inside, the artist, and then the labels are pretty cool looking, but there's no information about the songs. There's no information about who played on what, who wrote what, publishing, like nothing. And I guess I'm okay with that, but it really bothers me in a way that they couldn't just make that stuff standard. I don't want to go out and buy the regular one just so I can find out who played on what. Fortunately, we live in a digital age and I can look it all up online. The one thing that I do want to see, and I'm pretty sure I don't want to fork out the money because I'll just read it once, is a CD, DVD, or CD Blu-ray thing that came out where there's actual introductions to the songs. It's like a booklet and it's got a lot of information. I would like to find, I don't know, a PDF of that somewhere. Kind of wish that stuff was a little bit more accessible, and didn't feel like it's a cash grab to want somebody to go out and buy all of these different versions just so you can have, I don't know, all the information. Like I could care less about having all the different records. I really could care less, but I do like to feel like I've got the information that I want when I really love a record like this. So I do wish that either they had that stuff up on their website more, or that you just had basic information on a record instead of making it some art piece by Paul Smith. I don't care. But I love this record. It's 2 weeks in. I still play it all the time. It sounds great in the car. It's just the Stones rejuvenated. It's fun. It's a full-on rock record. It is the record we've always wanted them to make, to be honest. And some people go, oh, well, it doesn't sound, production's different. And okay, yeah, it's not 1972 anymore. But you could put this up there with some of their best records for sure, especially when you get into the last like 40-ish years. Um, Great record. Haven't really changed my mind on that. Sometimes you get people complaining about AI. I don't get it. I think you're giving AI too much credit. Auto tune used very well if it's there. I don't notice it, and I hate auto tune. I'll tune right out when I hear that stuff. And yeah, so that's about it. Just want to give a quick update on it. I'm still enjoying it. I think it's a hell of a record. A couple weeks back, I picked Gene Clark's collection that Gene Clark collected as my unknown pleasures, where I pick a record that I don't know, and then I decide, over the course of a couple weeks, whenever I get around to doing this particular series again, that I'm going to listen to the record. And the reason why I chose Gene Clark last time is because I have a hard time with the Byrds. I have a hard time knowing sometimes who's on what, who's saying on what who's contributing what. I think it prevents me from going to the next level with the Byrds. I mean, I'm by most people's account, I'm into the Byrds, but I don't get into them the way that I would get into some bands, and I know I could because I tend to like most everything I've heard, but they are one of the most confusing bands because their sound changes constantly as well as their lineup. So I thought, okay, let's listen to Gene Clark. I also have a personal collection or personal connection. My girlfriend was good friends with his son, Kelly, who passed away a few years ago. I enjoyed listening to this record. I don't, compilations are difficult for me. And like I said, I wanted to listen to this more to understand not only his solo career too, but also like his place in the Byrds and all that. The first several songs on it, I didn't do a whole lot for me. It wasn't until, and I played it all the way through, it's two records. I played it all the way through twice. And on that second listen, there's a batch of songs towards the middle of the, I think it's the third disc, maybe the end of or end of side two, beginning of side three, where I'm starting to like, oh, I really like this stuff. And I started really paying attention to that, found out it's on a record called No Other. And I love this record. So this thing was a success, and that it turned me onto this record. I love this record. My girlfriend had it, been playing it a few times, going to get into a lot more, but this record really does it for me. Where some of the other stuff I thought, okay, it's got maybe too much 70s production values, a lot of female background singers, maybe dressing up songs that would have sounded way better had they just been more stripped down. Hard to complain about anything on this thing, and I'm just getting more and more into it. 8 songs, really well done. I know he has called it his best album, and I also know biographically that he was really bummed out when the record didn't perform as expected and the label didn't promote it, and it just kind of derailed his career. And I think there's probably some personal stuff that happened around then too for him and his family. But this record, by far, I love. And I'll probably drop the compilation. Probably won't play that too much more. I'll probably start seeking out other albums around this time period. Maybe put on the compilation again just to kind of make sure. Is it what album these songs that were right around this one, the songs from this one on the record, what period or what album those are from. But that's what I chose. I'm really happy I did, and I do feel like it is going to help me out a little bit with the Byrds too, understanding them a little bit more. So usually when I do this thing, Unknown Pleasure, I grab a new record, again, something I'm not familiar with, and decide to dive into it and listen to it and make it a priority over a week or two. And the next one I've decided to do is Booker T and the MGs Melting Pot. I know Booker T, I know the MGs, I know them from a lot of projects they've done with some of my favorite bands. Young comes to mind. First time I saw Neil, they were backed up by Booker T and the MGs, and they're great. They did a record with him I'm not so crazy about, Are You Passionate? They played Drive By Truckers at one point. I definitely know Green Onions. I definitely know if they come on, a lot of times I'll be, oh yeah, it's a certain sound that I'll start to identify with them. But I can't say that I've ever put on a record. I certainly don't know this one. And looking it up, I'm finding out that this is kind of a lot of people consider it their best record, even though it came out a few years after Green Onions and kind of their what's often regarded as like their initial core period of being a band. So anyway, I'm looking forward to diving into this when I'm not listening to Hackney Diamonds or No Other by Gene Clark. Thanks everyone.